everybody, I'm Kelly from Craft and a Cuppa, and we're going to be making the Houndstooth Cardi today. I've just got a couple of things that I want to go through, and I'll keep it quick because I know we all want to jump into the pattern. So this tutorial is in US terms. I've done it made to measure, which means you're going to be able to use any ply of yarn from your stash, which is always a winner. I am providing all the measurements that you'll be working towards and that they are going to appear in the tutorial as and when we need them. So they're going to be in the video. There's 9 sizes available, extra small up to 5XL. So for this pattern, we are going to be changing colour every row. I'm going to be carrying my yarn across each row. So when I'm working with white, I'm going to be carrying across the black. So when I get to the end, I can then use the black and then carry it across the white. You don't have to do it this way. You can fasten off after each row, but you will have 1,025 million ends to weave in. But if you're going to carry your yarn, I strongly suggest caking it first. If you've got a winder, pop it into a cake. Unless you prefer working from the centre, like I'm pulling the centre tail out of the yarn ball. I can't do that because I always end up with loads of yarn bath and I just end up with major anger issues. So yeah, one last thing, because we are doing a houndstooth pattern, I personally think it's good to have contrasting colours. So for example, one light and one dark. Now, you don't have to do that if you don't want to. It's your cardi. You can use whatever you wish. But I think you get a good representation of the houndstooth pattern if you use one light and one dark. Right, let's do it. Okay, so we're going to be making 3 panels in total. 2 are for the front and 1 is for the back. We're going to be doing our front panels first. And we need to make 2 of these, but obviously we're going to be doing 1 at a time. So to start off with, we need to make a chain. I'm about to show you the measurement that you need to work towards for your chain. Now, if you want to, you can do a foundation single crochet. So for the chain, you're going to need to have an odd number of chains. If you want to do a foundation single crochet, then you will need to have an even number. I'm doing chains, so that's what's going to be happening right now. So I have got aran weight yarn. I like to use a 6mm hook. I know it's not really the recommended. I think they say 5, but I like to use 6. That's my personal preference. For the chain, you are either going to need to chain a little bit looser, or a nice easier suggestion is to go up 1 hook size for your chain only. So I am going to go up to a 6.5. I'm not using a 7, I'm going for 6.5. So we're just going to make an odd number of chains until you reach the measurement for your chain length, which I'm going to show right now. Right, I've just done my chain to 29, so I've ended on an odd number. I'm making a small and my chain length needs to be to 19 centimetres. So when I'm measuring, I'm not going to pull it out or stretch it, but I am going to make sure it's nice and straight against my tape measure. Says me, and then I'm going to move it all about, lovely jubblies. But no, that's looking nice. Make sure it's straight, make sure it's not all like this and things like that. But one thing I will say, because we are doing made to measure, it is very important to do a few rows and to measure your work, because it can be tricky to get that first measurement right. But as long as you regularly measure your work and make sure that you're on the right track, it's better to do that sooner rather than later. And then you have to undo loads of rows because you're like, oh, this isn't quite working. It's not measuring the right length. So I will add that in the tutorial as well. I will add some prompts to say, right, get a tape measure out. So I'm happy with my length, it's fine. I've got 29, which is an odd number. I'm now going to get rid of this 6.5mm hook until I need to make my next panel. And I'm popping in my 6mm. So we're ready to go for row 1. By the way, if you have decided to do a foundation single crochet instead of the chain, you have to skip row 1 because it's single crochets. So I'll meet you here at row 2 if you decided to do a foundation single crochet. Okay, row 1 is nice and easy. We're currently just using our light colour. But after this row, we're going to start bringing in black and white together. So row 1 is just a row of single crochets. So we're going to miss the first chain that we just made and go into the second chain. And we're just going to place 1 single crochet in every chain, but just stop when you get to the final chain because we're going to need to incorporate the black yarn when we get to the final stitch. So it's just 1 single crochet in every single chain, and I'll meet you back here when we get to the final chain. Okay, so I have got 1 chain remaining. So when we finish this stitch, we're going to be putting a single crochet in there. We're going to start the stitch with white and we're going to end it with black. So let me get my black yarn ready. Just get a bit of a pull on that, like so. Okay, so we're going to start the last single crochet with white. So go into your final chain, yarn over and pull up a loop. So we have 2 loops on the hook right now. We're now going to drop our white yarn behind us like that. We're going to pick up the black and we're going to loop it over the hook. I loop it so that the end tail is facing towards me. I'm not really sure if it matters, but that's just the way I do it. Make sure you leave a long tail so you can weave it in securely. It might be a little bit fiddly starting this, but I kind of just grab them both to get a bit of tension on it. And we're going to pull this black loop here through both of these loops. Like that, okay? So now we're ready for row 2. Okay, so now we are going to start doing the houndstooth pattern. It is so easy. All we're going to be doing is alternating between 1 single crochet and 1 double crochet. Every single row is going to start with a single crochet and every row should end with a double crochet. So you should right now have an even number of stitches. I know we had an odd number of chains, but we skipped 1 chain and then went in all the others. So now we should have an even stitch count. So working with the black now, we're going to chain 1 and turn our work. Chain 1, turn your work. We now need to carry the white yarn across. So for the white yarn, I grab my working end, grab the working end and I tuck it. It's a bit tricky for me to do this while I'm holding on, but I tuck it around the back of my work, like so. So it's now here. And then when we go through our stitches, when we go through the V, we've got to make sure that we pick up the white yarn at the same time. So I'm going to go through my very first stitch with the chain 1 in it. We're going in that stitch, I'm going through the V, and I'm also picking up the yarn tail as well. So then I'm going to yarn over and place my single crochet. This bit is a little bit fiddly to begin with. I'm just going to pull on that as well. But once you get going and you have more of your work like hanging down, it's much easier. It's just fiddly because we haven't got too much to hold on to at the minute. So remembering to go through the working white as well. We're now going to put a double crochet in the next stitch, making sure we carry that white across as well. Like so. Keeping that working tail in place, we're going to go through the next stitch with a single crochet and make sure that you pick up your working white yarn. And then 1 double crochet in the next stitch, 1 single crochet in the next stitch, and we're just alternating between 1 single, 1 double. And you might think, oh my gosh, just say I lose what I'm doing. It's actually like really easy. and you do it without even noticing once you get into the swing of it. So that's my double. So it's just 1 single crochet, 1 double crochet, 1 single crochet, 1 double crochet. So keep alternating between 1 single and 1 double, making sure you go through the stitch and picking up your working white yarn that we're carrying across the row. And I'll meet you back here when you have 1 stitch left, and that should be a double crochet. Don't make it just yet because we're going to have to swap over to the white yarn, and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so I have 1 stitch remaining and it's my double crochet. Before I place that though, I am going to tighten the white yarn that we've just carried across, because if you turn your work round, as you can see on mine, look, it's a little bumpy where the white yarn is kind of poking through. This is the wrong side. That's why we're carrying the yarn across this side, because this is going to be the inside of the cardigan. But it's still nice to keep it looking tidy, isn't it? Because you might see it, it's a cardigan. So I've just dropped my black yarn for now. I'm picking up my white and I'm pulling it quite tight, and it's made it all curl up, but that's absolutely fine because I'm pulling that tight, and then I'm going to run my fingers along it and just let out the tension that I just created by pulling that tight. And then you turn it round and it's flat now. I can't see it. I can't see the white poking through. So we're going to do that after each row. And you might think, oh my God, am I going to remember? Honestly, it just becomes like muscle memory. So I have got 1 more stitch left to place, and that is a double crochet. So I'm going to yarn over. I'm going to go into my final stitch with my black, and I'm still carrying the white, so we've got to make sure we pick up that white. So yarn over, go into the stitch, pick up your white working yarn as well, yarn over, pull through a loop. Now we've got 3 loops on the hook. We're going to yarn over with the black and go through the first 2 loops, like so. We're now going to drop the black. I kind of drop it behind so it's out the way. We're going to pick up the white and we're going to finish the double crochet. So we're going to yarn over with the white and then pull through those 2 stitches, those 2 loops on your hook. And that's it. We're now ready for row 3. So row 3 is exactly the same as row 2. The only difference is we're going to be carrying our black yarn at the front of our work rather than the back. So what we're going to do is we're going to chain 1. We're going to turn our work. Now this is tricky to see, I know, because I'm using black yarn, and I do apologise, but obviously we do need to have these contrasting colours. So let me just zoom in a bit. So I'm getting my working end of black yarn. Let me just get a bit of it going, hang on. Let me just pull a bit out, so I've got plenty to work with. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this working tail and I'm going to hold it to the front of my work. So I'm literally going to like push it up like this. Don't worry if it's a bit loose here. And I'm going to go underneath that working yarn and through the very first stitch, yarn over and do a single crochet. Now I'm going to come to my next stitch, still got my black yarn at the front of my work, yarn over and make a double crochet. And then the next stitch, keeping the black yarn again that you're carrying at the front of your work. I'm going to go under that and through the stitch and do a single crochet. Continue doing that. The next one's a double crochet, and then the next one's a single crochet. And just make sure that you've got your yarn, your black yarn at the front. The reason we're carrying the black yarn at the front is because this is the wrong side of the cardigan. And I just think it looks neater. If you want to carry your yarn to the back like you did with the white, then that's fine. Just make sure that you don't have it poking through when you come to the end of the row, because it looks unsightly and you'll be like, oh, all this hard work and I can see my carriage yarn poking through. So basically what we're doing right here is we are putting a single crochet on top of a double crochet. We're now putting a double crochet on top of the single crochet. So you're alternating stitches, and that is what gives the houndstooth effect. And that's another good way of, if you like chatting to someone mid crochet, or you're watching something on the telly and you look down and you're like, oh, I don't know what stitch is next. Look at the stitch below. So that one is my double. I'm like, right, okay, I need to put a single crochet on top of that. And then the previous stitch from, well, the stitch from the previous row next is a single crochet. And then you'd be like, right, I need to put a double crochet on top of that. Just remember to keep going and working over the top of your yarn, because we're carrying the yarn across the row so we don't have hundreds of ends. Let me just zoom out a little bit. So yeah, keep alternating between one single crochet, one double crochet, and I'll meet you back here when you get to the end of the row, and I'll leave the final stitch and we'll do the final stitch together again. Okay, so I am at the end of the row. I've got one stitch left to do, and that's my double crochet. So still carrying this black yarn at the front of my work, I'm going to yarn over, place my hook into the final stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, which gives me 3 loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over and go through the first 2 loops. I'm now going to drop my white and pick up the black. Before I do that though, I forgot to pull on my yarnlet. So we're going to pull this black working yarn nice and tight, and then I'm going to run my fingers back through it again just to get rid of any tension. I'm going to check that all my stitches look okay, which they do. I don't see my carriage yarn poking through at all, which is perfect. So now get my black yarn again. I'm going to yarn over and go through the last 2 loops with my black yarn. And that is literally all we're going to be doing, is alternating just like that. Now, because we've done row 3, I strongly suggest now that you measure your work to make sure that you're on track. And if you measure it and you're like 3 or 4 centimetres out, I know it's a pain, but just go back and add more chains or add less chains as to what you need to make it work. It's best to do it now than later. Okay, so measure your work. Make sure you're on track. I'm going to do another couple of rows with you quickly, maybe not as more in detail, but if you're like, I know what she's doing, that's fine, then you can skip to the length part, and everything's going to be, time-stamped in the description, so you can just come to which section you need. Okay, so next row, we're using black, so I'm going to chain 1, turn my work, grab the white working yarn and tuck it around to the back of my work. And now I'm going to do 1 single crochet in the first stitch, making sure I pick up that working yarn as well. Then 1 double crochet, 1 single crochet, 1 double crochet, 1 single crochet, 1 double, 1 single. Keep doing that and I'll meet you here at the end of the row. Okay, I have 1 stitch left, and that's a double crochet. Before I do that, I'm just going to pull on my white working yarn and then just stretch that out so there's no tension left in it. I'm going to check behind my work to make sure that the carriage yarn isn't poking through, which it isn't. So I'm going to go into the final stitch and the white working yarn with my black, yarn over, go through the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops, drop the black, pick up the white, yarn over and go through the last 2 loops. I'm going to do row 4 with you, no, that's going to be row 5 actually, last row that I'm going to go through it with you, and then I'll let you get on your merry way. Okay, so we're going to chain 1, turn our work. We're going to grab the black yarn and we're going to lift it up to the front of our work so that we can hook around that working yarn and go through the first stitch at the same time and place 1 single crochet. Keep your working yarn at the front of your work and go through the next stitch with a double crochet and continue doing that across. 1 single crochet, 1 double crochet, 1 single crochet, 1 double crochet, and I'll meet you back here at the end of the row. Okay, I have 1 more stitch left to place. So before I do that, I'm just going to pull on my black yarn like that, then smooth it out again. Make sure it's nice and flat, because this is where you can end up changing the width of your panel by mistake, because you might have too much tension in it, or maybe not enough, who knows. So just make sure you straighten that out after you've done that. Just double checking that I don't have any black yarn poking through, which I don't, so that's fine, because this is the wrong side, remember, and that is the right side. So I'm just going to finish this off with my double crochet, using my white yarn and making sure that my black yarn from the row before is at the front. Go underneath that and through the stitch and finish off my double crochet. Drop my white, pick up my black. Bish bash bosh. So you are going to keep doing that until you are happy with the length of your panel. Now, I have gone really long for mine, like knee length. When we've done the panels and the whole thing comes together, we will also put ribbing on the bottom. If you want to, I mean, you don't have to if you don't want to, but I'm going to put a little bit of ribbon on the bottom. So keep that in mind when you're doing the length. Yeah, I'll provide the measurements that I have gone to on the next screen, but you can make your panel as long as you wish. Hold it up to the top of your shoulder, let it fall down, and if you're happy with it, just stop. This would make a real cute short cardi as well, I think. So who knows, I might make one, who knows. But yeah, I'll put the knee length measurements on the screen next. It's me again. Just before you carry on with your length, just to let you know that when you finish and you're happy with the length, your final row needs to be row 3. I do believe that's what it is with the white yarn. Yeah, so I have ended on row 3. So that's it really. And when you do your final stitch, you're not going to pick up your black yarn. You're just going to end it and make your full double crochet with your white yarn only. Okay, right, carry on. Okay, so my camera's a bit awkward, like I can't really fit all of me in the screen, but I have my 2 front panels. So remember, once you've made one, you do have to go back and make another one. So when I'm measuring mine, I literally just put it to the middle of my shoulder and then look down and be like, yeah, I'm happy with that. It's that simple. We don't have to make a mountain out of a molehill. Molehill. Just hang it off your body and go, yeah, I like that. That's all right, that is. You can't quite see mine, but it's long. It comes down to my knees. So yes, 1, 2, and now you need to make a back panel, and you do exactly the same thing as what you've done for your front panels, but we're going to be working to a different measurement. So you can go back. I have, what's the word? I keep forgetting what the word is. I've time-stamped it. Let me bend it up. Hi. I've time-stamped it, so you can go back to the first front panel if you need reminding of what you got to do. Remember, you need an odd number of chains. Yeah. Go up 1 hook size, and then work towards the back panel chain measurement. And remember, after like row 3, I think it was, measure your work and make sure that you are on track, because it's best to do it before than later. So I have my back panel here ready to go. You've got the exact same amount of rows, so remember your front panel, have the exact same amount of rows for both panels. I know it sounds a crazy thing to say, but yeah, don't just measure it with a tape measure and be, oh yeah, they're the same, because you never know, it might be a little different. Tension and all that. Make sure you got the same number of rows. I feel ever so funny bending down like this. Probably should have put my camera a bit higher, but here we are. Now what's this bit? Where are we? That's my back bit. This is my back panel. It's a bit trippy. Well, hey. But yeah, it's got the exact same number of rows. My edges are a little wonky where I've pulled in my yarn a little bit, but we're not going to worry about that because once I get it joined together, you ain't even going to notice. She hopes. Fingers crossed. If I do, well then, I'm sorry, I take it back. Okay, so I'm now going to put the measurements on. Is that the wrong way around? I'm now going to put the measurements on for your back panel. Okay, so make yourself your back panel and then I'll join you in a bit for seaming. Okay, so now we're moving on to shoulder seams. So you need to lay your back panel out. If you're going to do the same thing as me, then that's great. If you want to do your own kind of seam, feel absolutely free to do whatever seam you wish. I am going to be working on the wrong side of my cardigan to do my seam. I'm going to be using my hook and I'm just going to be joining them together with a single crochet. And I'm going to use my contrast yarn in black because my last row was white. I'm going to use black so that it peeps through because I quite like the look of it. I've had a little play and that's what I like and that's what I've settled on. So for mine, I need my cardigan to be so it's inside facing me. So I've laid my back panel so it's the right way, it's up, it's not upside down or anything. This is the top of my back panel and the right side is facing me right now. I'm now going to lay my panels of my front panels down, lay them on the top so that the wrong side is facing me. And basically you say it so it's right sides together. So my right sides are touching. So then when I come to seam, I am working on the inside of my cardigan. I'm laying both of these out and I don't really know why because I'm only going to be working on one at a time, but I'm just showing you how they're going to be. So there we go. My front panels are wrong side facing me. The back panel is right side facing me, but when I do that, you can see that once they gets pulled the right way around, it's going to be right. So all the panels are right side facing. I'm babbling. Right, let's get on with it. Stop talking. Right, let me just zoom in. I'm going to be working on this one first. So this is so simple and easy, such a quick seam to do. Let me just make my loop. Oh gosh, I've still got this hanging around. It's my bigger hook. Don't want to be using that. Goodness gracious me. Okay, so all I'm going to do is a single crochet to join these two panels together. So let me just pick up my first front panel and I'm going to go through the very first stitch and pop it on my hook. I'm going to go through the back panel and go through the very first stitch, pop it on my hook, and all I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to start my single crochet. If you want to, you can slip stitch and chain one, but I am just going to join it in straight away with a single crochet. So I'm going to yarn over, pull through a loop, 2 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through both, and that's how you just start off with a single crochet. So I'm going to do that in every single stitch, making sure I go through the front panel and then the back panel and just do a single crochet. Do that through every stitch, making sure that you don't accidentally skip one, or sometimes I've been known to go through the same stitch twice, usually on the back panel when I'm not concentrating. But yeah, just put one single crochet in every single stitch until you get to the end. Okay, so I'm literally about to make my final single crochet. That's simple, and I'm just going to fasten off, but I've got no idea where my scissors are. Oh, hang on, they're all the way over here. Oof. My card is so big it's fallen off the table. Fasten off. Let me show you what it looks like. So it looks like this, and you can just see a bit of the black peeping through. I'm super happy with that. I think I like it. I wasn't really too keen on having the white joining, and I wanted to add a bit of contrast because we are literally changing colours every row. I think it works. So you're just going to do the exact same thing for the other front panel. Join that in. I'm probably going to turn mine around and just work from the edge. So I'll meet you back here when you have seamed both your shoulders. Okay, so you should now have 2 shoulder seams. 1 and 2. What we're going to do now is take a measurement down each side. Well, actually, we're going to measure one side and then use the same row on this side for the armholes. So I am just going to put the armhole measurements up on the screen right now. Okay, so you're going to need a couple of stitch markers. I thought I'd got 2 out, but for some reason I've only got 1. And a tape measure. So I'm making a size small and my measurement says 18.5. So I'm just going to flatten this down as much as I can. Take my tape measure and measuring from the top, I'm going to come down and measure 18.5, which for me is here. So I'm going to take a stitch marker and I'm going to go through here, and then I'm going to count and make sure that I put it through the same bit on this side. Oh, next door playing about with motorbikes. I don't know if you can hear that, so I do apologise. Right, so what I'm going to count, because mine is on the white row, I'm going to count how many white rows I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So let me flip it over and count the same amount of white rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, which is that one right there. So let me put that through here. Now I know that it's 10 white rows on this side, I can go ahead and count 10 rows on this side. So I'm going to do that now off camera. Right, I have got my stitch markers placed. I don't know if I mentioned, but you can see I still have my cardigan inside out. And I'm going to do the exact same seam that I've done along the top, a single crochet seam, and then turn it out. If you have a different seaming method you prefer to use, that is absolutely fine. You can go ahead and use whatever method you want. So we're going to start from the bottom. I'm just going to turn it around this way. We are going to start right from the very bottom end and work and place single crochets. You're going to be putting 1 single crochet in the final stitch of every row and making sure you line it up so you've got your white, then your black. Obviously you might have a different colour to me, but try not to get it all higgledy-piggledy so you end up with the wrong colours matching. That's black and white. It's not going to look good, obviously. You need to make sure all your rows line up and that you go through each of the front panel and the back panel. I'll do a couple of stitches with you. Okay, so I'm going with black yarn again. I'm going to pick up, this is my front panel and my back panel's here. So I'm just going to go through the bottom first. I'm just going to go through the bottom corner, like that. And then go through the bottom corner on the back panel, like that. And I am just going to start doing single crochets straight away. So make a single crochet, like so. Next up, I've got my black, so I'm on my front panel, go through that, find it on the back panel, go through the black on there, do a single crochet. then the white, one through there, one through there, single crochet. And we're just going to keep doing this all the way up the side until we reach the stitch marker. I'm not doing it too tight, because if you do your seam too tight, it can like bunch it up a bit. So try and keep a nice like even tension. And then when you get to your stitch marker, you can fasten off, but I'll show you that bit anyway. I always do, I don't know why. So see you in a bit. Okay, so I've got one stitch left to place, and it is where my stitch marker is. So I'm just going to take that out now because I don't need it in there no more. Place my final single crochet. And then fasten off. And then all you need to do is repeat the exact same thing for the opposite side. And then we could finally try it on and go, ooh la la. So repeat the exact same thing for the opposite side, and I'll meet you back here in a bit. Right, so now it's time for sleeves. We're going to be working on the right side of the cardi, and I am starting with the colour black because my black falls on the right side and my white bit falls on the wrong side. So I'm starting with black. I have actually already done a sleeve because I'm writing the pattern at the same time as recording the tutorial. Why I do these things to myself, I will never know. I've also randomly, I don't know if you can see it, but like these two rows seem to be darker than the rest. I'm kind of wondering if I might have carried my yarn on the front, my black yarn on the front rather than the back, but by the time I noticed it, I was like, do you know what? No, I'm sorry, I'm like down here. So no, we're not undoing 500 rows, rounds or whatever to redo that. Really, I should do, but do you know what? Sometimes you just got to go, no, and move on. Right, let's do it. Right, so round one, nice and easy. We just got to get our base stitches on. We're going to be doing single crochet in the edge stitches like we did when we was seaming. Let me just zoom in a little bit here. Now what I'm going to do is one single crochet in one stitch, two single crochets in the next stitch, and then I'm going to keep alternating between one single crochet, two single crochets, one single crochet, two single crochets. If you think to yourself, well, I want it to be a little bit narrower than that or a bit wider than that, then you can have a play about and do like one single crochet, two single crochets, one single crochet, two single crochets, that sort of thing, or put two single crochets in every stitch, but that's probably going to give you loads. That's going to be really, really big. But if you want massive sleeves, then yeah, do whatever suits you right now, because I'm not adding any decreases. I'm doing my regular straight sleeve, because that's how I like my sleeves to be. But we all like different things, so have an experiment. Okay, so we're going to go, I'm going to call it the seam bar, but it's basically where our seam is. So I was seaming mine, and the last stitches that it fell in was white, so my seam bar here is poking through all nice and black. I'm going to put one single crochet straight around that. So grab my yarn and make a single crochet. Keep my tail out the way, sorry, I can't talk properly. So for me, that was white. Next one's black. I am putting two single crochets around that black edge stitch. White is one single crochet. Next one's two single crochets. One single crochet, two single crochets, one single crochet. So I'm alternating between one single crochet in one stitch, two single crochets in the next stitch, and I'm doing that all the way around. Now, just so you know, this round needs to end with an even number of stitches for the pattern to work. Okay, so you need an even number. So keep placing one single crochet, 2 single crochet, 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet until you get all the way around, and make sure you have an even number of stitches. And it might be handy as well to jot that number down because you're going to need the exact same amount for the other side when you do your second sleeve. Sorry, it's just me again. I have got to my shoulder seam. I advise to pop a single crochet in that shoulder seam to avoid getting a little bit of a hole at the top of your shoulder. So just wiggle it in, pop a single crochet in there, and then mirror image what you've just done going back down the opposite side. Okay, I have got 1 stitch left to place, 1 single crochet left to put in, but I'm going to change over my yarn because I'm still going to be carrying my colours across. So I'm going to go in my final stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. I'm going to drop my black yarn so that it falls inside the sleeve. We're going to be doing that with the black and the white, so make sure it always goes inside the sleeve so that you can carry it across. Now I'm going to pick up my white, leaving a long tail. I'm just going to hook that over. Yarn over, well, not really yarn over, do you? Hook it over the hook and pull through the 2 loops on your hook. So that's the white in. Where's my little tail end? Let me just bring that to the front for a minute. And then we are just going to put a slip stitch in the first single crochet to join the round. Like so. It's always tricky when you first join in your new yarn. Larn? What's larn? New yarn, because everything feels loose. Once you get a few rounds in, it's not too bad. Right, what's next? Round 2. Yeah, round 2. Okay, round 2. So for round 2, we chain 1, turn our work. It's where it gets awkward because we've got this massive, well, I've got a massive cardi because I went really long with mine. I would quite like a short one as well. But yeah. Right, so we're going to be carrying the yarn across. Now, it's going to be really hard to see, I know, because I'm using black yarn. I'm such a pain. I'm just going to get my working black yarn. I'm going to bring it round this side. So we still need to carry the yarn across. So what I'm going to do, before I go into this bottom stitch here with my first single crochet, I'm going to pick up my working yarn, and this is really hard to see, I know, but I'm going to like loop it around that first stitch so that when I go in it, I catch the yarn, the black yarn first, and then I catch the main stitch. And then I'm good for carrying my yarn across the round. I'm so sorry that it's dark. There's not an awful lot I can do about that. I've got all my lights on. It's just because I have to use dark yarn and light yarn. So if it helps, hook it round the working yarn first. Pop it round there, look, just like that. And then go in that very first stitch where your chain 1 is and put a single crochet. And I'm just going to pull my working yarn tight. I'm going to hold it against the other stitches. So what we do now is we alternate. So first I've got a single crochet. The next stitch is a double crochet. Next stitch, 1 single crochet. Make sure you're going through your working yarn as well, so it's carrying the yarn across. Then a double crochet. Single crochet, double crochet. Repeat this all the way around until 1 stitch remains, and that stitch should be is it a double crochet? I think it is. I'm pretty certain it is. It? Yeah, I think it is. Well, I'll see when I get there. I'm pretty certain it is. Let me just have a look at my notes a minute. I've just done a whole arm and I'm now having brain freeze. What? 1 single crochet. Yeah, it should be a double crochet because we've got an even number of stitches and we started with a single, which means we end with a double. Honestly, I think I need to go back to bed. Right, I'll meet you when 1 stitch remains. Okay, so I have 1 stitch remaining, and yes, it is a double. So we're going to do half the stitch with the white and then finish the other half off with the black, so that we're then swapping to black for round 3. So I'm going to put my stitch, well, I'm going to yarn over, put my hook in the final stitch, still carrying the black yarn across, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops. Now I'm dropping the white, but before we was dropping the white behind. Now we need to drop it in front, so it like goes in the sleeve. That's what you got to think. All the time you carried yarn, when you end a row or a round, needs to go inside the sleeve. So I'm now going to pick up my black yarn. I've put my working yarn in here from the white, pick up the black that I've just carried all the way around the round, and I'm going to yarn over and pull through the last 2 loops on my hook. Find the first single crochet at the beginning of the round and put a slip stitch in there. Do you know what I didn't do? I didn't pull on my yarn. Ah! Sound like my son then. He make them kind of noises, bless him. Right, let me just do that one more time. Lesson learned. You've got to pull on your working yarn, haven't you? Let me just give that a pull, and then I'm going to stretch it back out again, just to prevent it popping out from the in between the stitches. Sorry everyone. So what was I doing? Right, working yarn at the front. No, hang on, I've got one more stitch to make now, haven't I? Oh, Lordy Lord. So you just got to remember to pull on your working yarn before you finish that final stitch. I've just realised I haven't put my working white inside the sleeve. Get in there right now. This is my episode of how not to do this. Right, let's get back in that first stitch with a slip stitch. Right, I'm ready to go. So yeah, very important. I just forgot to do it completely. But once you get in the swing of it, it becomes natural. But very important to pull on your working yarn that you've just carried around and then re-stretch it back out to avoid little bits of the yarn popping through on the front side. Right, round 3 is a little bit different, but the only thing we're doing is doing the opposite stitches. So round 2, you started with a chain 1, single crochet in the same stitch. Round 3, you're going to start with chain 3, and that classes as your first double crochet. So I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to turn my work around like so. Let me just grab all my cardi. Right, turn your work around. Let me get my black working yarn again. It helps as well because if you can see just off camera, your yarn can get a little bit tingle-tangled, only a little bit. So I just swap sides, and then we're good to go. Okay, so I've chained 3, and then you can see which stitch you've got to go into, because you always place a single crochet on top of a double and a double crochet on top of a single. So I can see the very next stitch along is a double. I'm going to grab my white yarn, my white working yarn, and I'm going to hold that against the stitch as well. So I go under the stitch and under the white working yarn and place a single crochet. Next is a double crochet, still carrying that white yarn across, and then a single crochet, and then a double crochet, and then a single crochet. So keep alternating between your double crochet and your single crochet, and I will meet you back here when one stitch remains, and that stitch should be a single crochet. Okay, so I've got one stitch remaining, and that is my single crochet. But before I do it, I'm going to pull on my working yarn. Pull it nice and tight. It's going to draw your sleeve in. So we're just going to stretch it back out again, nice and carefully. Making sure it's not taut or anything like that. But that just helps bring any stitches of the carried yarn. Like, it stops it poking through. I've said that about 500 times. Right. Still carrying the white, I'm going to place my hook in the final stitch and yarn over with the black. I'm then going to drop my black working yarn inside the sleeve, pick up the white and finish the single crochet. So yarn over and go through the last 2 loops. Find the top of the chain 3 from the beginning of the round and place a slip stitch in there to join off that round. So that was round 3. I am going to, put it in the timestamps, that's the word. I'm going to timestamp it. I can't think of nothing today. I'm going to timestamp it so that you can go backwards and forwards. I'm just going to go over round 2 one more time because we are literally repeating round 2, round 3, round 2, round 3 until you're happy with the length. So I'll just go a little bit over round 2 one more time and I'll book this one as round 2 because I did mess up a bit, didn't I, when I didn't pull on my working yarn, and you're probably like, what? What is she saying? Why is she running on? I can't help it, okay? Okay, round 2. We start round 2 all the time with a single crochet. So we're going to chain 1, turn our work, which is always really awkward when you're doing sleeves. Before I place my single crochet in the first stitch, I'm going to pick up my black working yarn. I'm going to bring it around so it's coming around this side. Drop my white a minute. Right, so I'm going to grab the black and like hook it up and over so that when I go through my first stitch, I'm picking up the black yarn first, then I'm going through my stitch. And I'm placing 1 single crochet in there. I'm just going to tug on my black yarn just to tighten it. Right, still carrying the black. We put a double crochet in the next stitch, a single crochet in the next one. And just remember, you're alternating between singles and doubles, and when you look below, your doubles should be going in the singles from the previous round, and your single crochets should be going in the doubles from the previous round. So we can continue that houndstooth pattern. Right, I'll meet you back here when you have 1 stitch left, which should be a double crochet. Okay, so I have 1 stitch left to place, and that's my double crochet. Before I do that, I'm just going to quickly drop my white yarn and pick up the black that I've been carrying along the inside. Pull it tight, stretch it back out again. So I need to make a double crochet in my final stitch. I'm going to do half of it with the white yarn and the other half with the black. So still carrying the black, I'm going to yarn over with my white, go in the final stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops, drop the white, but drop it forwards so it goes inside the sleeve, pick up the black, yarn over with the black and pull through the last 2 loops on your hook. Then we're going to come to the very first single crochet at the beginning of the round and join it with a slip stitch. And there we have it. We are just going to keep repeating those rounds over and over again until you're either happy with the length or you'd like to use the measurements that I'm about to put on the screen in a moment. Let me just show you quickly on my finished sleeve because I'm able to do that, thank goodness. Let me just zoom out a little bit first. Oh, wrong way. That's in, not out. Let me just get my other sleeve that I've done. So if you want to use the measurements that are provided, look, can you see that? Why? Why? So annoying. If you want to use the measurements that I have provided, then you will measure from the bottom of your armhole and out. Have I got a tape measure? Yes, I have. So you're literally just going to go right from that armhole, right at the bottom, and measure your way out. I am now going to put the measurements on the screen for the sleeve. Another thing to add is it doesn't matter which round you decide to end on. I opted for white because I thought it would look cool against the ribbon, but it probably wouldn't have made much difference really, to be honest. But yeah, it doesn't matter. You can end on a black round or a white round. I went for white. So I'll meet you back here when it's time to do the cuff. Here come the measurements. Right, it is time to do the cuff. Before I do the cuff, I'm going to do a decrease round. I'm using black for my cuff. I've just realised that I've hardly got any left, so I'm going to have to actually fasten off and attach a new colour. There's no point going with that. If it was a bit more, I probably would have seen how much more I could have got out of it. But I finished on the white round. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. But if you do, I suggest that you chain one and turn your work, because we're going to be working on the right side. I am going to have to fasten off though and attach more black. So I'm just going to do that quickly. I'm also going to fasten off my white because I don't need this no more. And then yeah, let's do the cuff. All right, let's just zoom in a little bit. Obviously, this is going to be, oh, hang on, I've got to turn that off. It's going to be a little bit hard to see because I am using black yarn, and I do apologise for that. My cuff is literally going to be the same as how I do it on all of my other tutorials. So if you're like, oh, I don't quite know what she's doing, have a look at any of my other tutorials. Maybe the granny stripe cardigan that I've just recently done. I do exactly the same thing with that. So what I'm going to be doing, I get my new black yarn, is I'm going to be putting single crochet 2 together all the way around. I'm going to be doing a decrease round, okay? So I'm going to be joining every 2 stitches together with a single crochet 2 together. But you need to make sure, if you're putting ribbing on this, the front post and back post ribbing, that you have an even number of stitches by the time you have completed the round. And that's so you can do the ribbing. So let me just go in my first stitch, which is where my black is. Oh, get in there. Right, I've chained 1. So if you was facing this way and or you're on the wrong side, chain 1, turn your work, and then we are all ready to go. So I'm going to put a single crochet in the very same stitch, but I'm not going to finish it. Sorry, I'm doing a single crochet 2 together. So I've put my hook into the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, if I can get it in because it's a bit tight. Ow, it's just come out, look. Right, let's do that again. Put my hook in the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. There we go. You should have 2 loops on your hook. I'm going to go in the next stitch and do exactly the same thing. Put your hook through the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. You should have 3 loops on your hook. Going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. And that's my single crochet 2 together. So I'm going to do that in every stitch. Single crochet, 2 together, bosh. And remember, when you get to the end, you should have an even number of stitches. Now, if you're doing this and you think, oh, I want it to be tighter, then you could try single crochet 3 together. Or you could alternate between single crochet 2 together and single crochet 3 together. If you're like, I don't really want it that loose, then you can put some single crochets in between your single crochet 2 together. I hope that doesn't sound like absolute madness, but you can make it as wide as you wish. It's for you, if it's for you anyway. Try it on, see what you think. So keep putting single crochet 2 together in every stitch, and I will meet you all the way around when we get to the end. Okay, so I've actually got 28 stitches. If you get to the end and you've got 29, you could literally just put another single crochet in your final stitch to make it even. That's simple. So we're going to join to the first single crochet 2 together. Just go through that and put a slip stitch. And that's the decrease round. So we are working on the right side throughout the whole of the cuff, so we don't need to turn our work. Now we're going to put in a round of double crochet, nice and easy. So I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and that's going to class as my first double crochet. I'm going to go into the next stitch and start putting 1 double crochet in every single stitch. Remember to keep a count and make sure that you do have an even number of stitches. And I'll meet you at the end of this round. Okay, so I have just done my final stitch. I know you can't see what on earth is going on right now, but I have just done my final stitch, and I am going to go in the top of the chain 3 from the beginning of the round and place a slip stitch. And that is round 2. So I'm going to do some front post and back post double crochet ribbon. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. You can just do regular double crochets or single crochets or any other stitch that you want to do. I like my ribbon stitches. I literally do it on everything. Oh, look at the state of me. I've got a bleach on my top. Such a mess. But look, there's a little dinky one there. This one might be dinky too. We'll wait and see what happens. I might do a couple, maybe 2 or 3 rounds. So, I know it's really hard to see. Like I've said again, I will literally maybe stitch in the granny stitch cardigan in the timestamps so you can have a look at the ribbing for the sleeves on there, because I do it in a lighter colour. I can't do it in a lighter colour, like this has to be black, and I do apologise for that. Normally I don't work with black anymore on YouTube tutorials, but it's Houndstooth, so you know, I have to. So I'm going to tell you everything I'm doing anyway. So I'm going to chain 1. I'm going to go straight around the chain 3 from the previous round. So I'm going to yarn over, go in, straight around the back of that chain 3, yarn over and make a double crochet. That's my front post. Then I'm going to do my back post. So I'm going to yarn over, come in from behind and go around the post and make a double crochet. I'm just going to keep repeating front post double crochet, back post double crochet, all the way around, alternating between the 2. I'll meet you back here at the end of the round. Okay, I've got 1 final stitch to place, and your last stitch should be a back post double crochet. And then I'm going to join it to the top of the front post double crochet from the beginning of the round with a slip stitch. And we're literally just going to keep repeating that row or that round as long as you're happy with the width or the length. I can't get my words out right. Why can't I talk properly? I feel all out of it, like, I don't know. I'm so bad at talking. This is why I can't teach a group. Loads of people say, could you set up a group? No, I can't talk properly. It's bad enough recording myself. Okay, so I'm going to chain 1 and I'm going to place a front post double crochet straight down around the stitch that we did at the beginning of the previous round. So it's going to be your front post double crochet, and it's going to have the chain 1 beside it as well. So that one is going to be a little bit chunkier than the rest of the stitches, and that's why, because it has the chain 1 alongside it. So just make sure you go through both of them and do a double crochet. So that's a front post double crochet, back post double crochet, exactly the same as the last round, just alternating. And you just keep repeating that round until you're happy with the length of your ribbon. I'm all hooked up. So when you're done, fasten off, weaving your ends, and I'll meet you back here for, I think it's going to be bottom ribbon. I'm going to put a bit of ribbon on the bottom as well. So yeah, meet you back here for that. I have 2 sleeves. I am so happy to have 2 sleeves. And I've been really good and weaved my ends in. Okay, so next I'm going to be adding some ribbing on the bottom of the cardi. You don't have to add ribbing if you don't want to. You could finish it off with a single crochet, a couple of rows of single crochet, whatever you wish. I am going to pop a little bit of ribbon on mine though. So let's do that now. So for the next row, we are going to be working on the right side of the cardi, but we need to flip it upside down, so we're working on the bottom. So let me just try and attempt that on this table. because my cardi is much, much bigger than the table. So let me just kind of fold it how it is, like this sort of thing. Oh my goodness. Okay, so we need to do our first row on the right side. So for me, I'm going to be joining my yarn in here and working all the way across to the end of the row. I'm going to be putting a single crochet in every single stitch, and I'm going to skip over my seam bars. So I'm just going to be going in the stitches with a single crochet, and this row needs to end on an odd number. Now there's a very high possibility that it will end on an even number. So if that's the case, just skip one stitch. Doesn't matter where you skip it. I probably wouldn't do it right at the end, but just, yeah, wherever, just skip a stitch. It's fine. It's absolutely fine. No one's going to look at it and go, oh, I think that they've missed a stitch on there. No one is going to know, okay? So yeah, let's do it. Okay, so let me get my yarn ready. I am using black again. Apologies for that, but you know, it won't look right with white, in my opinion. Needs to be black. Let me just make a slip knot and get that on my hook. So I'm just going to go straight in with a single crochet. Right in the very first stitch, we're kind of working into the bottom chain that we first made right at the beginning. So I'm just going to put a single crochet and then continue to put one single crochet in every single stitch, skipping over the seam bar in the middle and just going through the stitches and making sure that it ends on an odd number. And if I have to skip a stitch somewhere for that to happen, then that's fine. So I might as well meet you at the end of this row when you have an odd number of single crochets. I've just done row 1. I did have to skip a stitch. So yeah, okay, it is there. Maybe we can see it, but no one else is going to know, I'm telling you. No one else is going to know. Okay, so next row, lovely and easy. We're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Turn our work. That's not so easy with me because this cardi is massive, but I'm going to give it my best shot. Oh my goodness. Now where's my yarn? This is the thing, I end up losing my working yarn under masses of cardigan. So we've chained 3, we've turned our work. We're going to go in the very next stitch with a double crochet, and then we're going to place 1 double crochet in every single stitch across the row. Nice and easy. And that's it. So I'll meet you at the end of this row. 1 double crochet in every row. Bye! It's looking lush. I mean, you could literally leave it here if you wanted, but I am going to go for ribbon, as I keep saying. So next row. Just zoom back in a little bit. Okay, so we're going to start and end each of these rows with a half double crochet, although when we begin we're going to be chaining 2, and then the final stitch is going to be a half double crochet. So in between that we're going to be doing front post double crochet, back post double crochet, and just alternating between the 2. So I'm going to chain 2, and that classes as my half double crochet. I'm going to turn the cardi around again. Let me get a bit of slack on my yarn. Oh my gosh, I can't pick it up. Okay, so this is really hard to see, but if I pull it apart, that's the first stitch. I've just put a chain 2 in there on the top of that, and that's going to be my half double crochet. I am not going to go around that stitch right there. I'm going to move across to the second one along. So that's 1, that's 2. I know it's hard to see, but that is my second stitch, and I'm going to place my front double crochet around that stitch. Oh, and then back post double crochet around the next one, and then just alternate between the 2. So front post double crochet, back post double crochet, And we're going to do that until one stitch remains, okay? And that stitch that you go in, your final one, before, well, I'm getting all my words muddled here, not the final stitch, but the last stitch before that, it should fall on a front post double crochet. If it doesn't, you can go back and redo the single crochet row to make sure you do definitely have an odd number of stitches, or you can just go, do you know what, life's too short, it didn't end the way I quite planned it, but let's just move on, it's going to be fine, it's not the end of the world. So I'll meet you back here when we have, I'll say I'm going to do 2 stitches, and hopefully, fingers crossed, it will be the front post double crochet and then a half double crochet in the final stitch. But I'll meet you here at the end of the row. Oh, my voice just nearly went then. Okay, I'm right at the end of my row. Obviously, I know it's impossible to see because I'm using the black yarn, but I have 2 stitches left. Luckily, it has fallen correctly, so my final part of my ribbing is a front post double crochet. Oh, I'm a bit high, sorry. I'm going to make that right now around this stitch. Front post double crochet. And then we're going to go in the top of the turning chain from the previous row, which at the minute is a chain 3. On next few rows, if you continue adding ribbon, it will be the chain 2. So I'm going to go right now in the top of the chain 3 and put a half double crochet. So let's just shove that in there. Half double crochet. And that's it for the ribbon row. I'll timestamp it and you can go back to it and repeat this row as many times as you wish. I'm going to go try mine on and see if I want to add an extra row or not, because that's the best way to do it in my opinion. So yeah, I will meet you back here when we have to do neckline. And then it's done! Hurrah! My voice is sounding really weird then, but yes, it'll be done. I'm back again because I've literally just realised I've left you high and dry for row 2 of ribbing. So that was row 1. Row 2 is completely the opposite, and I didn't even say that, did I? I was just like, yeah, keep doing the ribbon, I'll timestamp it. No, it's the opposite way around. So let me just show you, it won't take long. We're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and turn our work. Okay, so this time we're going to be doing the opposite. The row 1 of the ribbon, we started with a front post double crochet. For row 2 of the ribbing, we're going to be starting with a back post double crochet. And your last stitch of the ribbing should be the back post double crochet and then a half double. Does that make any sense? Yes, no, yes, no, 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 yes. Okay, so I'm going to yarn over. Normally we'd do a front post first, but we're not. We're working on the opposite side, so we need to do a back post double crochet. So you start with a back post, if I can get it in. No, hang on a minute, something's not right. Let me do that again. Where are we? I'm going in the wrong bit. Right, back post double crochet, and then a front post double crochet. And then keep alternating between back post and front post. I mean, you can see which ones are the back posts and which ones are the front posts anyway, but it wouldn't be fair if I just left you to it and you started doing front post, back post, front post, back post. Then you're like, why isn't my ribbon working? That'd be why. So that's about all I need to show you really. Row 2 of the ribbon, you start with back post and end with back post. Don't forget your half double crochets at each end of the stitch, and then you revert back to front post double crochet, back post, front post, back post. Next row, back post, front post, back post, front post. I hope that makes sense. Right, I'll meet you back here for neckline. Okay, I have my bottom ribbing in place. So now we are officially on the home stretch, and I'm so excited to get this project done because I feel like I've been working on it for such a long time. Right, I'm now going to add the same ribbon but going from here and all the way up the front panel, around the back neckline and back down the opposite side. So we just need to place our single crochet stitches in first, and then yeah, pretty much everything is nearly the same. We're going to do a row of single crochet, a row of half double crochet, and then we're going to start adding the ribbon on, just like we did on here. So first thing we need to do is, I tend to like turn my cardi on its side if I'm working on my desk. If I'm sitting on the sofa, I just grab it. We're going to be working right side facing us. So we're going to put our first row on the right side. So you're going to need the bottom of your cardi. So I'm just going to like spin mine around. Here's my top neckline. Just lay it out. It's so big I can't even fit it on the blooming camera yet. But here's my front panel, and that is the bottom of my front panel. And I know it's dark again because of the ribbon, but I'm literally going to attach it, my yarn, in this bottom corner. Right around, this is going to be called a DC bar. I always use that term. And I'm also going to be using single crochet bar because we're going to have single crochets and double crochets at the end. And we're going to be working around those stitches just like we did when we joined the panels together. Right, let's do it. Okay, so I've got my yarn ready. I'm going to go straight around this double crochet bar from the side of the ribbon, right in the bottom corner. I'm just going to attach it with a single crochet. So make a single crochet. I'm going to put another single crochet around the same double crochet bar. And I'm going to do 2 single crochets around every double crochet bar until I reach that first single crochet row. So that single crochet row is the black one, but it's in between my thumbs. Because when we first attached our ribbon, we did a single crochet row, didn't we? So I haven't got much to do here because I haven't got a lot of stitches going on. I haven't got a lot of ribbon. So my next double crochet bar, my next row, I'm going to put 2 single crochets around that. I've got one more to do, one more double crochet bar. I'm going to put 2 single crochets around that. So my next row, I know it's literally impossible to see because I'm using black, but my next row is a single crochet row. So I'm going to pop 1 single crochet in that. So that now brings us to our main panel. So what we need to do is put 1 single crochet at the end of every row. So you're going to be going around single crochet bars and also double crochet bars. But we're going to just be putting 1 single crochet in the end of every row. So I'm coming in straight away, going right in the white bit here. 1 single crochet. Moving up to the black area, going straight through there. 1 single crochet. White next. Right round there, 1 single crochet, black, 1 single crochet. And you're going to keep doing that all the way up the front panel until you reach the shoulder seam, the first shoulder seam. So I'll meet you there in a minute. Okay, I have now reached the first shoulder seam. I'm going to skip over that seam and go straight into the next single crochet. Put 1 single crochet in there. And now you're going to work in every single stitch along the back neckline until you reach the next shoulder seam. I've now reached the next shoulder seam, so I'm going to skip over that and then go back to putting 1 single crochet in the or around the final stitch of each row down the opposite front panel. So I'm going to meet you back here when I reach my ribbing section. Okay, so I have stopped right before I've got to the ribbing area. Now what I've done, and what I suggest you do, and I know it's a pain in the backside, but this row needs to end on an odd number. So I've just gone back and counted all my stitches, and I've got 213 so far. I know on my ribbon section, looking at what I've done the other side, I've got 6 stitches left to place around my ribbing. So that will give me a total of 219, I think that's right, which is odd. So if it's going to be even for you, you can like skip out 1 stitch on your ribbon. That simple. So yeah, I'm now going to place my last 6 stitches around my ribbon. And that's going to be row 1 done. So I literally just put 2 single crochets around each DC bar. That's 2, move on to my next one, 1, 2, and then move to my final one, 1, 2. Now hopefully I have 219 stitches, an odd number. Okay, row 2 is going to be so easy. All we're going to be doing is a half double crochet. So to start this row, we're going to chain 1, turn our work, we're going to pop our first half double crochet in the same stitch as the chain 1, and then just place 1 half double crochet in every single stitch. And I'll meet you at the end of this row. So I've just completed my half double crochet row. I'm going to add ribbing exactly the same way as I did on this bottom edge. You don't have to add ribbon if you don't want to. You can do whatever you wish. You could continue with your half double crochets, whatever you fancy. I'm not going to go through it too much because we've literally just done it, but just to jog your memory, it's chain 2, turn your work, and then around the very next stitch, you're going to put front post double crochet. Let me just wiggle that out. Front post double crochet, and then the next stitch back post double crochet, and you just keep repeating front post double crochet and then back post double crochet all the way to the end, and then place 1 half double crochet in your final stitch. Then for the next row, again chain 2, turn your work, but this time you're going to be swapping them around. You're going to start with your back post double crochet, then your front post double crochet. And then you're just going to keep alternating those 2 rows. And that's it. And you can stop whenever you wish. And when I meet you back here, we'll have an aran. Well, you may not, but I will have finished Cardi. Woohoo! I'll see you in a bit. Can you tell I'm excited? I am so happy to say that it is done. Well, actually not quite done. I've still got to weave in my ends from my ribbon, but after that it is done. Yes! Right, so I only ended up adding 2 rows of ribbon. I tried it on and thought that's perfect, I don't need no more. And that's it. So thank you so much for joining me for another tutorial, and I will see you hopefully a bit quicker this time because I have spent ages making this. Sometimes that happens to me. Sometimes I can just grab a project, do the pattern and just steam through it really quickly. Other times, like this one for example, can take me ages. I don't know what it is, but we have done it. It's done. Woohoo! So I'm going to go for a smaller project, I think, for my next thing, but I'm not quite sure just what it's going to be just yet. But anyway, thank you for joining me, and I will see you again soon. Bye!